Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 53 of the PD Sports Podcast. In the top left of your screen, you will see Damo. How you going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all. Still in depressed land from the UCL, but it is what it is. Apart from that, everything's good.
And in the top right, you've got Dom. How you going?
Great.
All good. Perfect. Well, we haven't had a podcast for a while, since well before the Champions League, I think it was in the end, probably the week of. Don't need to go on it too much as two Liverpool supporters and a Chelsea supporter who lost to the Real Madrid team that went on to win it anyway. Um, Not a good night for us, but doesn't matter. We'll move on. We could spend all night talking about issues and fallout from that game, but that's not really the point of our podcast today. But before we make a start, make sure you go and have a look at Damo's channel over at Damo_23 to suss out his journeyman. Get over on Twitter at Dom_Trimboli. Is it 10 in your handle? 7?
No, sorry, it's just Dom Trimboli _.
Dom Trimboli _ over on Twitter for some quality bants, and stay right here on my channel if you want to see how I'm rebuilding Derby in the Premier League on FM22. Before we jump into the main topic of discussion on this podcast, big night ahead for Australian football fans. I think this might be something that, if the result doesn't go our way, might spark a little secondary podcast at some point this week around the state of play again, but can't stress the importance of this result for the Socceroos. Obviously, they're playing UAE. Where are they playing? Are they playing in Qatar?
Yep.
Yeah, they're all neutral venues.
Yeah, so one-off game, unlike in previous years where it's normally two-legged home and away. So 90 or 120 minutes away potentially from a final playoff. So this is the first of two playoffs. What are we thinking, guys, going ahead against UAE?
We're out. We're not making the World Cup. We lose tonight 1-0.
There is no Tommy
we win
Rogic.
tonight and then lose to Peru.
Yeah, I don't want to be pessimistic, but that's my view as well,
Yeah.
Dom. I think we get through somehow tonight against another Asian side that we know we can probably beat, but I don't think we don't have the juice to get over Peru regardless. So maybe it might be better off.
Spot. It's as simple as that. We shouldn't be in this spot, and Australian football as a whole needs a look, because if this is the best that we can produce in a World Cup qualifying campaign, then I think a lot of things need to change. And I'm actually hoping we do go out tonight so we get that podcast to have a chat about it, because I think it'd be an interesting talk, and people definitely know my views if you've been in my trap in Australian football at the moment. But I don't see a world tonight where we win with the fact that we can't score goals in what should theoretically be for us a Mickey Mouse World Cup qualifying competition to just make the World Cup proper.
Yeah, the fact that it was top two is where it hurts more, like to get out of the group. That's probably the bigger takeaway from the qualification, and I've swayed a bit. I don't know. Obviously, we might save a lot of these talking points if we do a specific podcast, but I was very much, you're never going to win anything with Graham Arnold. But the more I've actually sat down and watched the team, I don't think there's much more he can do with what he's got in front of him. Like, I kind of...
That I believe.
And I think I was a bit naive to start with. But anyway, we'll break it down if we don't qualify. If we do qualify, then we might do something themed around Australia. And obviously, we're a team that's not going to go and win the World Cup. We're just going to either make the numbers up if we get there, or have a good fun three nights of watching Socceroos action. So we'll see what transpires tonight. Or tomorrow morning, I should say, early Wednesday morning our time. So we'll see where we're standing going into a potential playoff with Peru. But we've got...
One thing I've loved is Craig Goodwin being a regular in the Socceroos team.
Finally an Adelaide United player.
So yeah, like a local lad. He went to Gleeson, not far from where we live, not far from Paul used to live.
Yeah.
Made his name in Australia, won a title here for his hometown club. Formed a great career in Europe, in Holland, a very highly regarded league. And now that he's ready to start a family, comes home and is probably the best player in the country again for his hometown club. Won, I think, 2 FA Cups.
Yeah, back to back.
He's bringing titles to his hometown club. Formed a career overseas. Now he's a mainstay in the Socceroos. It's great to see for a local lad.
Yeah, it is. And what tops it off is he has a 93 inform on FIFA that looks absolutely amazing.
Team of the season
Yeah, that is looks
with
unreal.
99 pace, which has tempted me to get back on FIFA, but I can't do it. Otherwise, the bug will start again. So, we've got some interesting talking points for this episode. This episode could either go for 40 minutes or it could go for an hour and 40 minutes, depending on what gets brought up by some of us here. But what we're going to do is we're going to start forward planning for the next Premier League season. We're also going to have a look at who went down and have a bit of a chat. I think that's where we should start. I don't think we should linger on those guys, but we're going to split this up over the next few weeks. Obviously, if things transpire with the Socceroos, we might throw a Socceroo specific one in there if things don't go to plan. But we're going to start off with looking at which way should we go? Should we go from 18 to 20 or should we go from 20 back up to 18 then 17 up?
I think we should go from newly promoted, relegated.
No, you got to go relegated first. No, you got to go relegated first because they're out of the league.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
All right, let's go 20 up. So
okay.
We'll go. So what we'll do is we'll go Norwich, Watford, Burnley.
Yep.
Then it was Forest, Bournemouth, Newcastle. Fulham. I was thinking of Mitrovic.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we'll go that order, I think. So Norwich, who wants to take them on first?
I think it's standard usual, isn't it? And them and Fulham will shake hands as they walk across the paths back to the Championship and the Prem, take their money, go back down, inevitably probably come back up again, just being who they are.
I don't know about them coming back up, though. That squad didn't look the same this year.
Say that every year, though. I didn't think they were going to come back up last time, so... but, look, it is what it is for them. I just think their writing's always on the wall. The only thing I'll say that was different about this Norwich side than the previous ones is they actually sacked their manager and tried to play a better brand of football that suits them. I know Farkle tried to play this, system that he has a philosophy on, which I can respect. But when you don't have the quality of player, it's never going to work. And I really think if he had a quality team, he could actually show himself as being a very good coach. So I don't think it's down to him. Just think Norwich always never spend when they come up and never have a team that's good enough for the Prem, but have a squad that's always seems to be too good for the Championship. I think that relies a lot down to Pookie being Pookie.
Well, you got to remember, he's now 2 years older as well. Like, there's going to be a point where his goals aren't going to save them. I think they hedged a lot on Christos Solis playing, who just, for whatever reason, didn't get... I think he's been injured because he hasn't even been playing for Greece. So I'm a bit shocked. Yeah, so I don't know. I think he just couldn't get in the team, couldn't get fit. It'd be interesting to see how many minutes he played. I tried keeping an eye on him this year, but every time I looked, he wasn't in the team. I don't know. I think this team hasn't had much investment in it lately. It looks very similar to the team that went down last time. I don't know if they can get some investment through the parachute payments and whatever that they do get in order to try and strengthen in the Championship, but... Norwich is Norwich. Dom, I know your views on them. Just a nothing, not a nothing club, but they don't offer much, and they've never looked like they've never taken risks. Really, have they? I feel like they're very safe. They don't throw the kitchen sink at it, and
that's why they fail. Is it because they don't take it on board and they don't provide the challenge that they should set out themselves to stay up? They're just happy to be there.
I'd almost want them to go through like a playoff push and miss out to then go like, all right, now we need to change, because if they just keep thinking we'll go up and down like a yo-yo, then they're probably happy with that because they're not ever losing money because of the parachute payment as well. So if they're confident in going up and down every year, then there's no incentive to stay up. Like they get 1 year of crap results and a year of good results and a year of crap results and a year of good results. I don't know. Look, they're one team that I'm more than happy not to spend that much time on because there's not a whole lot to say.
None of their players I could see. Maybe Josh Sargent.
He didn't even show much.
No, I couldn't see a Premier League team that's come up or an established Premier League team
taking anyone on.
To any of unless for squad depth. But
no one's. The thing was though,
Max Aarons maybe, but he was pretty horrific this year.
Normally, someone stands out for them in years past. You've had Pookie, you've had Aaron's, like, who always get was that what's his name? The left back, was it Lewis? Jamal Lewis, who went to Newcastle. You know, normally there's one every time they come up. Someone shows something. This time round, they just had nothing. They genuinely had nothing. Sargent scored that weird goal, the back heel goal thing. But other than that, like, I don't remember anything Norwich did all year.
Shows how poor they were.
Yeah.
They got battered.
All right. Moving up the table. Watford, probably one of the more, pretty much polar opposites, isn't it? We're talking about teams that don't take a risk in Norwich. You say Watford take a lot of risks, and a lot of the time it pays off. And they probably take too many. You're probably right. A few people, I've been watching some predictions online, and a lot of people had them like loitering with relegation, but their time was near, I think. Again, looking at their squad, similar issues with investment. Haven't really kicked on heaps with their investment, like in quality investment. Like, they've picked up like Sissoko, they picked up that Hernandez, who was actually okay. Is this Dennis's first year?
Yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure Manuel Dennis's first
year. That's his first year. Then I'll probably take that statement back. Because he was quite good until he had his AFCON saga where they wouldn't let him go, and he just didn't play at all, really, like, well, after that point. But again, they've never been convincing, have they, really? Watford, the last few runs they've been up in the Premier League.
No. And I think a lot of that stems to, you look at Norwich and they're too safe and they're just happy to be there and take their payments and yo-yo. Watford are almost like, oh, you've lost 3 games, you're out the club, sack the manager, next manager, and it's just a never-ending revolution of just managers coming through, and there's no stability. And in the end, if you don't have no stability, you've got nothing that you can build upon. And when Norwich were too stale, Watford are just too much the other way. And in the end, they probably had something good under them. I think it was Marco Silva, and they just decided to get rid of him out of nowhere because they wanted Ranieri, and then Ranieri didn't work out, and then, look, at the end of the day...
Roy.
For me, Watford doing that to managers, I hope they don't come up for a while, because they need to go through and just really look at their club and go...
It's a culture issue.
Yeah, we've ruined something that could have been really good here at this football club, because I actually think the squad, if you got the right coach to develop them, could stay up, especially in the back of Ismail Sarr.
It's a lot better squad than Norwich.
Yeah, and they've got a squad that on their day could challenge, to stay up in the Prem. A bit more convincing than they did this year. And I think a lot of that goes down to how that club's run. And, if the club's run that poorly, rotating too many managers, what do you expect to happen?
Imagine what it'd be like. Sorry, I don't know if you wanted to cut in, but imagine being a player in that environment too, like not knowing every game by game, who's in charge, really. Like, is the manager playing for his life or coaching for his life? You know what I mean? Like, it's just I just can't put myself in that position where it'd be that unstable and feel like I can play for a manager. Like, if I've been bought by somebody and then by the end of that season I've had 2 other managers, like, imagine Musa Sissoko's gone in under, I think it was Marco Silva, the start of the season. He's finished under Roy Hodgson. Like, there's completely different managers. Like, how can a player confidently sign, number one, for Watford, knowing that his role might completely change based on who's coaching? And 2, if you're an important first-team player for one coach, what happens if another guy comes in and you're just on the bench, like, in a World Cup year as well? Like, who genuinely would want to go to Watford right now? What do you guys reckon?
I think I reckon they're gonna have a high turnover of players. I don't see Ismail Sarr staying. That's one I think goes to another Premier League club.
Yeah,
João Pedro, Emmanuel Dennis. I can't see them staying. Sissoko, his wages will be through the roof.
Foster's already said he's leaving.
Who's that?
Ben Foster's leaving. Starting keeper.
Yeah, he's gone. Trusa Kong, I can't see him staying. Josh King.
There could be a mass exodus there, and I don't think you're far off it.
Yeah, they probably need it, though.
And there's a lot of those guys...
And a new manager, too.
A lot of those guys can cut it in the Prem as well. And that's a big core of their players gone, where, unlike Norwich, I can see yo-yoing back up into the Prem next year, because they'll probably keep a hold of a lot of these players. I actually see Watford maybe struggling next year, not to stay in the Championship, but to come back up again.
I think it goes 2 ways.
Yeah.
If they keep a good core of them, then I think
And give the new manager time.
You can lock them to come straight back up.
Okay.
But if they lose, like they could lose their front three, the whole midfield.
Yeah, because
they'll turn into that club that just can't get back up.
I'm trying to just. Oh, okay. So Rob Edwards is the new manager.
The young fella that they poached from.
He's from another championship club, wasn't he?
No. It was like not. It was Forest Green. And
yeah,
apparently
that's right.
he had a clause or something that he could talk to other clubs about at the end of the season. Watford, instead of approaching the club to say, "Can we speak to your manager?" went to the manager directly. The manager then kept it away from Forest Green, saying, "Oh yeah, I'll speak to you." And then apparently he was doing an interview on Sky Sports, and they turned around and he just messaged him saying, "Yeah, I'm leaving for Watford." And so they sacked him.
Oh wow!
And
Fair
so
enough.
it's like a 6-minute interview with Forest Green's chairman going, "I knew nothing about it till about an hour ago," and he's already signed a deal at Watford.
Far out.
And just shows the problems at Watford that they're sacking that many managers and they're going behind clubs' backs to try and bypass compensation or whatever to just agree a deal without going through the proper, procedure. It's a bit weird how they signed him. Only reason I remember that is I watched that Sky Sports interview. But yeah, Forest Green's manager. Apparently, some young kid. He's younger than us.
Yeah, I feel like he doesn't look that young, but I feel like if they're going in that direction, then you'd like to think it's a more long-term approach.
But I think he's one of the youngest English managers in league football.
He's 39.
Okay, then
He's one of the younger ones, but 40 years old.
Okay,
Been around.
I thought he was 29 or 26. Okay.
He's 40. That's a bit of a difference, but
makes me feel a lot better about my life, so that's good.
Yeah, so look, if he gets what he needs, which is a big, big if, then you could see Watford doing all right. But the big factor is how long does he get? Obviously, going after a manager who's been managing in League Two, they obviously have seen something, and that's definitely the Forest Green stuff's been pretty good. Like he's been with Forest Green for a while, and their rise through non-league into the football league, then you'd like to think that Watford are preparing a bit more of a project.
You'd think so, but it's Watford.
All right.
Sack him in Christmas.
Dom, going to start with you on this one.
My boys.
Burnley.
Oh, this cut me deep, this one.
All right.
The league is so much better with Burnley in it.
Start us up. Where'd it go wrong?
I think it was just inevitable. Burnley were always going to go down. Not this season, but they've really played with fire the past few seasons. A couple, they've had a few top half finishes, but
they've been loitering though.
With fire. Yeah, that style they play was never gonna work long term.
Yeah,
and I just don't think they've scraped out those crappy wins like they have previously. Through the middle of the season, through Christmas, towards the end, they used to pick up point here, 3 points there. Turf Moor, was almost a fortress for those mid-table teams, but it just wasn't like that this year, and I think it's just finally come round. But they shouldn't have sacked Sean Dyche when they did. That was genuinely ridiculous.
Could you say that Newcastle potentially helped relegate them?
Yeah, I think if the Newcastle don't have that influx of cash, Newcastle go down.
Well, what about more so them buying Chris Wood and unsettling that front two, where Weghorst came in and did not do anything near what Chris Wood has done in track. Oh, that's me. I've just been thinking about that lately.
That's a good point.
I don't think that was Newcastle's intention. They were obviously buying Chris Wood because they thought they were going to be in a scrap themselves. But, that's what 25 million doesn't get you a whole lot. And the fact that he had that release clause, that's probably, I think, contributed.
Now Weghorst has said he's leaving anyway, so
it's a double negative at that point. They've lost both. And, look, Weghorst came in with a lot of expectation on his shoulders, and that maybe could have been too much, to be perfectly honest, because he had been scoring well-ish in Germany for Wolfsburg.
Those big strikers don't bang them in.
No.
20-25 a season. It's what they do. They bring in their hold-up play. They bring other players into the game.
And he actually looked all right, too, when I'd seen him play.
Yeah, he didn't have a... I don't think.
Cornet and McNeil playing off him. It was good watch, but yeah, now it's time to buy them because he's gone. Cornet said he wants to leave as well.
McNeil
They're
surely
another one.
goes.
McNeil goes, generates some income. That's 50 million, right? 50 million plus for those three right there. I'll put on record, I see them coming straight back up. I think they invest well and they have what it takes to be successful in the championship. And I think they're coming straight back up.
I saw someone was linked with that job. Vincent Company.
Yeah, for me, it's if they get
agree.
the right manager. If they get the right manager,
agree.
they'll come back up because that's my only worry with them. The fact they sacked Sean Dyche when they sacked Sean Dyche, I'm glad they're down because I cannot understand and fathom if a guy with his track record of keeping you safe with a run-in that's so tight that you turn around and sack him. And it nearly worked out for them, but that would have been from pure luck, not because of anything that was quite smart or made footballing sense. As much as I love Burnley and I'm going to miss Burnley and being in the Prem because they kind of embody the old school Stoke City sort of mentality of, set up and do your job, the sort of thing to stay up. I'm
Punt
going to
it.
miss that. But I think it deserves the football club right for making such a horrendous decision that they go down. And I actually think it ultimately doesn't fall down to Weghorst or anything like that. It falls down to the fact they sack the best manager out of that relegation race on a whim. And, well, congratulations, that's the prize you win.
It's weird that they wrote him down last time they went down, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What's different? Like, if he got you relegated, whatever, like, because he'd been such a good servant to the club, now they just look stupid. Like, the fact that they sacked him and they got relegated, you know what I mean? Like, it is a fine margin. It is a real fine margin. If the board already had thought maybe time was coming, then maybe they thought they'd get a bounce. Like,
why don't they just wait to the end of the season?
I mean,
they're relegated anyway.
Well, that's in hindsight. If they stay up, you then go, they made the right call. So that's risk reward. You know, we're talking about Norwich not taking risks. Burnley took a bloody big one, and it backfired because they didn't actually look any better. Like Leeds, after getting rid of Bielsa, looked different under Jesse March, and we'll get onto them later. But you have to get that appointment right. They didn't actually appoint anybody. The fact that they just got someone from within, I think that's what Burnley did, wasn't it? It was someone from within.
Yeah.
Then there's no point. Then there's genuinely no point at that point, because it's going to be someone who's been under Dyche anyway. So you're going to not get anything different. It's just a different voice.
It was just a shake-up. That's all it was, just to shake them up. But that doesn't work. They had to bring someone in, and you know who they should have brought in? Sam Allardyce was sitting there waiting for a job. I reckon that would have been the one to keep him up. But,
he started to lose that reputation now, though.
Because he can't get a job after what's happened, which was,
Oh, he had the West Brom one.
Yeah, but a lot of that's from his England fallout that he can't. I don't think he can't get a job. So,
it's probably time for him to stay out of the game anyway. To be honest.
Yeah, look. At the end of the day, it is.
Give someone else a go.
I feel for Sean Dyche anyway, because I feel like if he had investment there, he's a good enough manager. He would have maybe done something. I've got a really big shout into where I think Sean Dyche ends up next. But we'll talk about that as we talk about one of the other clubs that we're about to mention, because they are in one of the clubs that we'll talk about coming.
All right.
Any of their players go anywhere?
McNeil.
Weghorst, McNeil.
I'd love McNeil to go to Forest.
I think McNeil stays in the Premier League. Weghorst and Cornet go overseas. And that generates 50, 60 million.
You're missing the best player out the lot. That's the problem.
Nick Pope.
Mate, he's ending up at Newcastle. Newcastle are going to throw kitchen
If
sink.
Nick Pope goes, that's 100 million right there to reinvest, and then they come back up.
And if it's under company, then at least they're going to maybe exploit that Belgian market, find some kids that he's out at Anderlecht, maybe bring them across.
Players on loan from Man City.
Oh, so imagine setting up a little thing there. Go get Liam Delat. A few other guys.
I think that's what would happen there too.
I've heard some really strong rumours. I've heard some real strong rumours that it's going to be company. So that'd be cool. And I think that's a good job for him too.
Perfect.
Going from player manager to manager to coming back to England, I think that's fantastic, and doing it the right way.
If they do that and they clear out those players we said, and they reinvest well, I will be right on their bandwagon to come straight back up.
Yeah, same with me.
And I hope they do.
Yeah, I do too. I like watching them. Turf Moor's always a good little stadium to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, promoted sides. Forest. I love this.
The boys.
I love this.
We were
the boys.
Love the storylines.
They may only finish on 7 points next year, but who cares? Let's go.
No, I think they've got some guys with some quality. My big thing for them is a lot of their guys were on loan. That's the key. They need to be able to keep that core of kids together.
Might be hard.
That is going to be very, very hard. But we can underestimate the money. Like, we can't underestimate the money that they're going to get from coming up, especially through the playoff. The team could look very different. The team could look so different. The fact that the managers come in, it was early days, but he took them from relegation zone to playoff final. Like, that is just unheard of.
Football manager stuff that.
Yeah.
Steve Cooper.
Big Steve. So
I'm so glad they're up.
So am I. Like, in my lifetime of watching it properly, I've never seen them in the top division. So,
like 05 or 06 was the last time, maybe. I feel like they're on FIFA 06 this year in the Prem. So
I think I've been saying, yeah, it's definitely 17, 20 odd, like in that bracket, since they went down. So, look, any teams that come up, it's rare that 3 teams stay up. We know what Fulham are like. So, we can talk about Fulham later, but big question is, with investment, do we see Forest staying?
Yeah,
no.
I think they've signed those players that were on loan. I think Joel Garner goes back on loan.
Yeah.
Keenan Davis, I don't see them not signing him on a permanent, because they got Villa have Watkins and Ings.
Yep.
And then now they've shown them up. They're probably pushing towards playing with just one number 9.
Yeah, especially with Leon Bailey there.
Davis, I'm saying send me to Forest permanently.
Yep.
That's Spence, the wing back. Is
he the dude from Borough?
Yeah, he is.
Because there was a guy on loan from Middlesbrough that dominated this year, which is ironic.
Yes.
I think that was Spencer.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he probably wants to stay in the Premier League then.
Yeah.
Words come out. Spurs put in a bid for him, and I think Forest have matched it. So
okay.
I think
they want to stay, maybe.
I think if you're Spence, you're going to Forest.
Surely you give him 1 year. Give Forest 1 year, and if they go down, then you say, all right, relegation release clause, and then sell me to a team like that. But give them one in the Premier League. Surely if you've got them up, you want to stay and you want to see it out like at least for a year. Like the way, like Kante, he did his 18 months, whatever it was at Leicester, won the league and left. You know what I mean? Like give him something. But look, I haven't watched heaps of Forest, to be perfectly honest. But what I have seen, I've really liked.
Yeah.
Really aggressive.
The German got a Danish guy, Zinchenko. He's on loan from Watford. So what happens there?
He stays at Watford. Watford are going to hold him.
You're going to hold him?
Yeah.
Comes down to player then.
He played 45 out of 46 games in the Championship. So
Jesus.
Forest will definitely try to sign him, but I think Watford will want to hold him so they can go up with him. But we'll see.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Because if you get the player offside, then he just refuses to play.
He's 27. He doesn't have many years. This could be his one chance to play in the Premier League.
Yeah, I hear that too. For me, it's going to be about how they spend it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't do the Fulham approach and sign 12 to 15 players and lose the identity that got you up. That's the key.
That's it. You want the key core dynamic to stay the same. If they do that,
you want to be a Brighton. Be a Brighton.
Yeah.
And the first year is the hardest at that point. The first will be the hardest.
Stay up. Just stay up.
Don't want to overachieve.
That's why we give Burnley so much credit.
Well, that was their second stint, and it doesn't feel like it because they went down and straight back up.
They kept the identity though.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Brighton, yeah, they're like a mainstay, really. I can't even remember when they. I can't remember if they've yo-yoed at all, but
now they're a top half club.
Yeah, but that's because the manager's unbelievable.
They slowly keep the players and then slowly upgrade, keep them.
Yeah,
like they did it. They've done it perfectly.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, and that's the model, really. Because how many times do you see a team come up, splash the cash, and down they go?
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, there's more proven record of Brentford. Brentford didn't go nuts signing people. They added bits and pieces, but everyone was talking about Mbeumo, Tony, Pinnock, David Raya. Like, they're names that were playing. I mean, Raya not so much because he got injured, but Pontus Janssen, like, they were in the starting. Rico Henry, they were playing in the championship push, and they've played the whole year this year. So I think from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I think that gap, Premier League, the top end of the Premier League is miles above, but 10 to middle of the championship, I don't think there's much in it anymore. Like,
No.
it's not going to surprise me if we start seeing more mid-table Premier League teams buying players from 7, 8, 9 in the if someone's dominating at Reading or Blackburn.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if we start seeing more linear transfers within England, because I don't think the gap's as big as it used to be.
It's not, and the reason why it's not there as well is if you look at Brentford, for instance, they kept their core identity, that kept brought them up, and they've done extremely well. Brighton, same thing. Burnley, second stint, they keep the same identity. It's almost just the pathway of what teams should do. Is like, this is the team that got you up. Keep that core. Add the little sprinkles that you need, the 100,000 on top, which makes an ice cream so much better. But keep the bloody ice cream. And then if you do that, it's fine. If you do what Fulham do, throw the ice cream in the bin and just pour a whole cone of 100,000s, you're left hungry still. So you're going back down. That's my analogy, by the way. That was one of the crazy ones. But it's the same thing. And I think that's where you will see that anywhere from, I think, 10th in the Championship, I'll go as low as that, and someone's dominating, to probably about 12th in the Prem, there isn't much difference between the clubs and the level. The difference is how good is the manager and the team gelled together, and how much do they buy into what they're trying to achieve.
So someone who it didn't kick on for, say, in particular, was Adam Armstrong, but he's someone that had all the hype in the world. And maybe this year, like being at Southampton, it's been a bit different for him than Blackburn, but I'm still very confident that he'll score goals in the Premier League. And I think there's, like, for teams like your Southamptons, and we'll talk about them later, and teams like Leeds, if the player's not there in the international market, go look at Swansea, or go look at these teams that, finished up near the playoffs, because there's talent there.
Yeah, 100%.
But anyway,
I agree.
Bournemouth, I think. Bournemouth, and talking about identity, obviously Eddie Howe brought them identity. They're just a good team, aren't they?
They are. And they're unlucky to go down.
Likeable club. Scott Parker, likeable.
Yeah,
And
second time around now, going up.
Similar manager, similar identity. Scott Parker and Eddie Howe tried to play the same way as well, so they kept the same identity too. And straight away, brings them the result of getting back up. Although they didn't win it. And I think Fulham are always going to win the championship when they're there. But
With the team they've got.
Yeah, with the team they've got, they should. But it just shows that Bournemouth still have that ability. And to be fair, I'm happy they're up. I know that we don't like teams yellowing too much, but Bournemouth are a team that I think can come up and stay up as well if they keep the same, identity, group dynamic. Everyone buys in and they add those little players that they may need. And there might even be a couple of players that Bournemouth may go and target from the likes of Watford and the likes of, obviously, the couple of the other relegated clubs. But I think if you're Bournemouth, you're looking at a Kong at the back and maybe trying to pinch another one from somewhere else. If they can get Emmanuel Dennis to play that Josh King role that they used to have, or Josh King back, that might be enough for Bournemouth to maybe come back and stay up.
Yeah, with Solanke as well in some good form at the moment. And it's hard, it's going to be hard to see how they're going to go. But I think, I've just been thinking, like, this next season, like, not going into last year, you pretty much said Watford, Norwich probably going down. Who's the third team? This year I look at it, I go, Bournemouth have the guts to stay up. Fulham have the guts to stay up. And Forest, with their support, playing packed out stadiums at home, we're probably saying relying on a bit of quality, but have the capacity to stay up. Who comes down? Like, we'll get to it after, but there's not standouts like there normally is, really. Like, everyone will say Fulham, I think, naturally, because the track record is dump, 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 dump.
Yeah.
But there's no one that goes, they're going to get smacked every week.
Nah.
And that's what I'm really excited about this season. And it's more interesting to find out how it's going to go the World Cup break, but I don't want to go into that. But Dom, anything on Bournemouth?
Yeah, once again, very likeable. Excited to see Jamal Lowe in the Premier League.
That's it, my boy.
I want to see him linking up with Ismail Assar.
Yeah, on either side of the wing with Solanke through the middle. Ryan Christie through the middle.
He's good.
He's a good player, mate.
He was. I remember watching him for Celtic, thinking this guy is unbelievable.
He's good.
So
defensively with Bournemouth.
And they have to, and I know you two will agree, they have to sign Nat Phillips on a permanent.
Yeah.
They do. And as
I
much
have
as I would
to.
hate me to see him go, I'd say
He
Nat
has
with
to
open
go.
halves. Thank you, mate. Off you go.
Yeah. Because he's
And
been a
Jurgen,
mainstay of that team as well.
He deserves.
and Jurgen wouldn't stand in his way. After what he's done for the football club, Jurgen wouldn't stand in his way. If they turn around and say Nat Phillips wants to go there to Jurgen would turn around and go, as long as they give us something reasonable, no dramas.
They kept hold of. I didn't realise they kept hold of Jefferson Lerma as well, who was quite highly rated when he came in.
Yeah.
He still stayed there and played a couple of seasons in the championship. He was.
But that's the
Yeah.
thing. They had the ability to do that and keep that core dynamic and that core identity. So I think they come up and they're going to be quite good next year to stay up. Not quite good as in top half, but quite good as in they'll be fighting.
They don't need heaps
Yeah.
either. That's the thing. Like, they don't need heaps to add to their core. Alrighty.
Just need a touch of quality.
Yep. Last one. Fulham. Mr. Moneybags up front at the moment. Bloody Mitrovic.
Here he is.
How many
He's
times
back.
do we
The
say
Premier
this?
League.
I love him. I actually love him.
I love him.
Reserved
I love him. He's so good.
Until he can do it in the Premier League.
I love him though, but because of how passionate he is and he gives it 100%.
Premier League.
You want a year of 18.
He's done it before though.
Nah.
He scored 16 a few seasons ago in Fantasy Premier League. He was amazing. Every time Fulham's up, he gets nailed on. He goes up there because he always scores goals.
He's like a 10 to 13 at the. He needs more. He needs the extra 5. I think. If he can get 15 to 18, and they're losing Cavallo as well to us. Whether we loan him back, we probably do.
I think he goes back on loan.
Yeah, they need him.
That's the natural progression.
And then Harry Wilson. Look at the Liverpool link up front there.
Is he on a permanent?
Yeah.
Harry Wilson is, yeah. Harry Wilson's been there for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I think.
Fair.
So
Kearney, Harrison Reed.
I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe like that Gibbs White from Wolves. I just have a gut feeling. I've seen nothing. He was on loan at Sheffield. I think Fulham could be a spot for him. I think.
Yeah.
I've literally got no reasoning to it. I've just got a gut feeling that he was a player of the championship last year. I just don't see him at Wolves because he just doesn't fit the mould with Wolves. But I see him at a Fulham. I don't really see him at Bournemouth. And I know maybe Forest, I don't know, but I just see him at Fulham. It's just, I don't know. It's just that Fulham tend to do it.
Keep that core.
I think
try give it a go with that core. Sign 4 or 5 players, sell a few.
Who's their gaffer at the moment? Let's have a look.
If you're gonna go down, their gaffer's Marco Silva.
That's
if you're
right.
gonna go down, do it respectably. Because last time they went down, it was just embarrassing.
It was embarrassing, and it was most embarrassing last time they went down is that Mitrovic scored only 3 goals, but that's because the team was just dead horrid. That was one of the worst Premier League sides ever.
Yeah, because they never
Speaking about Mitrovic, by the way, this is his record in the Premier League. Newcastle, when they got relegated, he scored 9. He then went back there in 2017-18, only played 6 games that year. He might have been injured, only scored a goal. He then, when he came up with that Fulham side 2018-19, which wasn't the worst Fulham side, but still wasn't good, in a not good Premier League side, he scored 11. And then obviously the year where they were dead horrid, he only scored 3, but I don't know how many goals Fulham scored that year, but it wasn't many. But then you look at him in the championship, 26 and 40, 43 and 44 in his last 2 seasons in the championship. So this is a guy that gets opportunity in the Prem.
Dom's point stands though, that's the thing.
Yeah, it does. I understand that. But for me, when I see him score 11 and he scored another, a 12 there as well for really dead horrid sides that have had no hope staying up, there's definitely a player that I think this Fulham squad's a little bit better than the other squads that have come up previously. I think it's fair to say.
He needs 15 for them to stay up. He needs 15 to 18 for them to have a chance at staying up. That's the key. Oh man, coming off 40, you'd hope so.
I think next year Fulham would be in the scrap, but he scores nearly 20 goals next year. He doesn't get quite there, but he gets in that bracket of 18, 19.
They need someone up there with him, though. They need someone there to take the load off. Just to take... Because if it's just him and Harry Wilson...
It's not working.
What's your boy Mitroglou doing, Paul?
Eating protein bars. He's done.
That's all they've got. They just get stuck into him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a centre-half and that's all they've got, bang.
They almost have to play 4-4-2 with one guy that's going to go and stretch. You know what I mean? Like
leave Mitroglou to do his thing. I'm Mitroglou, bloody Mitrovic.
Yeah, get a prime Mitroglou there. That'd be fantastic.
That would be unreal. I'd love
If you haven't
that.
seen it, guys, go look up on YouTube. Who is it? What's his name? Bloody Steve Sidwell. Was that his name?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It was Steve Sidwell.
Talking about Mitroglou's time at Fulham when he was record signing and not playing and just lounging around the gym eating protein bars. So he tells it better than me. But Fulham, what do we think? Yes or no to them staying up?
Depends what they do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
Is what I'm going to say.
really brave and say, yeah, stay up next year. That is a big shout, but they stay up next year.
They need to get some reinforcements for me. I think.
There's a reason they stay up for me next year. We'll get to that.
Alrighty. So that is the 6 up and down clubs. We go to Leeds. Leeds United. I think they made the change with maybe 2 weeks of safety up their sleeve. Because I didn't mind them under Jesse March. There's periods where it actually looked all right in my eyes. And they picked up some big results and scored some late goals in that run-in. That's kept them up too. But with the pre-season and with his players and a change of philosophy, because those players have been running to the ground for the last 4 years, I think they could do all right. I think they need... It looks like they've already gone and got another American guy already. Player. Fullback. Because Ayling probably losing his legs a bit. They need investment, though, this Leeds team. Because they've staggered. What do you guys reckon?
They're about to lose a couple of their big players as well. I feel like for Leeds, the question is, do they get gutted this year in terms of transfers out?
There's not much there to gut. That's the thing.
Bar Calvin and Rafinha.
They had a whole year without Bamford. You got to remember that.
Yes.
That's true.
That's like a new signing.
Because Rodrigo didn't come in and do what everyone thought he would too. He ended up playing centre midfield. He's going to be playing up front. So... Gelhardt got the opportunities though, so maybe it looks Bamford Gelhardt together up front.
I heard they're in for Brereton Diaz.
Yeah.
Is that the guy from Blackburn?
Yeah, Chilean dude.
Okay. Well, they're a team that definitely need reinforcement up front. I think they got good, hard-working midfielders. Their defense is pretty solid. To be fair, Melier's an unreal goalkeeper. I
think he leaves too this year.
The fact that they stayed up, you'd like to think that he'd go again. He's not going to play for France.
As young as him playing consistently in the top 5 leagues.
Yeah.
I think someone comes in for a big bid.
I reckon he's still a couple of years away. He's still very young.
I think that's where if you Leeds and you sell Millier, you get enough money, you go for Nick Pope straight away. Because he'll keep you up by himself.
Really?
Nearly keep Burnley up single-handedly.
And come out with 30, 40 million in your back pocket.
Probably, if you're selling Millier to somewhere. I think Millier is going to have quite the market. He's so good. It depends on who wants a keeper. I think if you're Palace and you want to continue your project, he fits their sort of system there. I think if you're Newcastle, I think Newcastle don't want Dubravka there next year being their number one. So I think Pope or Millier goes to Newcastle on big money. And then you're looking across the leagues as well and going who needs a keeper around as well. And I think there's a few clubs that could be chasing a keeper this year that of quality. And I think Millier heads that list for a lot of clubs. I think he's a great keeper myself. As from a goalkeeper coaching perspective. And then if you look back at the Prem as well, I think the big 4 don't need a keeper. But Spurs?
Could he replace Lloris?
I think he's coming. I think Conte would be up for that.
I don't know what he's like with his feet though.
Keepers. No, Conte doesn't care about that.
Fair enough.
Shot stoppers.
Oh,
that's what he is.
That's what he is. He can make a save.
And then it depends whether Rafinha stays too. I think he will.
Rafinha's gone.
Well, the way he celebrated, man, looks like he's going to stay.
Nah, he's celebrating like that because he just kept them up and he loves the club. But he's gone. He's gone. You want to know where he's coming, Paul?
There's no need for him to leave. World Cup year. Why is he going to leave?
He's leaving because we're selling Mane and he's going to be the striker.
He's not coming to Liverpool.
I think he goes to Barcelona.
He's not coming to us.
He wants Barca.
Oh yeah, every Brazilian wants Barca.
Every Brazilian wants Barca. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's dumb. He can leave in January. He can go in January, but he'd be stupid to leave now.
With the World Cup coming up.
100%. Play. Just play.
On for Brazil.
Pardon?
Yeah, I think he's nailed onto the squad.
That's the thing. He's got to just play minutes. That's the thing. If he goes to a big club, he puts that in jeopardy.
Actually, I tell you who should sign. Who the relegated teams coming up should sign. They should chase Bale to the hills because he needs to play for the World Cup.
Where's the way
where does he fit though?
Apparently, he's willing to take a wage cut. Apparently, there's a team in Wales, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that he's apparently very keen on signing for on a low fee.
In Wales?
I think you substitute the wages.
Championship.
He's not going championship.
He's willing to go there, apparently, from reports to Sky
No
Sports.
way.
No. He'll go to a mid-table club and just take the wage cut.
And have to play through the middle.
Yeah.
He can't play out wide anymore.
Still take that too, wouldn't you? A newly promoted side. If you're Fulham and you're putting Bale and bloody Mitrovic together.
What about Leeds?
Yeah, that's a good shout. What about Southampton taking back?
Nah, I don't know if he wants to go there. I think that's a sinking ship.
Could he be the one to stop it? Him, Adams, if they get Brozier back for another year.
I wouldn't be touching
Adam Armstrong.
He was dead horrid.
Brozier, he was alright.
Dead horrid.
He was okay.
He's not good enough for the Prem. If they're going after Brozier again next year, Southampton, they're going to be one of my two teams that I'm going to say that should be going down next year. If they go after Brozier, they're finishing bottom.
He's not that bad.
I think he's horrid. I don't think he offers anything. I know we're not talking about...
Because you would have brought him in fantasy for 2 weeks, you didn't score and you sold him.
I never transferred him on fantasy ever this whole year.
Oh, he had a good run with me.
I had never touched him ever, not one game.
Fair enough. All right, Leeds, do we think they've done enough to stay up?
Well,
depends.
Next year, it depends
Big
on who
question
they sign,
mark.
who they get sells.
Big question mark, I think. I just think
they're the question mark.
This could be their Brighton moment, though. Brighton had this. Brighton started well, and then they had the year where they loitered.
Nearly went down.
And then they kicked on. This could be their point of kicking on, potentially, and hanging around.
Yeah, Brighton had the year where Matt Ryan kept them up.
God, everyone forgets that. With more pay.
When Matt Ryan was probably top 3 keepers in the Prem for a season, so.
All right, let's move over to Merseyside, Everton.
Here we go.
Basket Case FC. Frankie Lamps. How the hell did he keep him up? My problem with Everton is they got no money. They're in big, big trouble financially. They are in real prime relegation opportunity at the moment because this stadium that they're building is sucking the money out of the club, plus the financial mismanagement of previous 5 years of transfers. I think they're one of my teams that are probably looking like they're locked in at that 18th spot for me.
Look,
people are overreacting.
Nah, they can't buy anyone. They got no money.
They can't re-strengthen. They're gonna lose
unless they sell. They have to sell to invest. But even then, they got debt. They got 300 million debt.
Yeah, Richarlison's the one they got to sell and got to cash in on.
Well, sounds like Calvert-Lewin's going too.
Yeah, and he's done nothing for them. You want to know what their biggest problem is? And I hate to say it to you, Dom, but your club legend cannot coach to save his life. I think he's one of the worst coaches to coach in the Premier League era. And on top of that being said,
as a player, I don't care what you say.
Yeah, no. And on top of that, he went to a club where the squad should never be in this fight. I know that wasn't his fault, and he wasn't able to drag him out the ship. The only reason they got out of there is because the run of fixtures were, enough double game weeks.
He was ballsy to take the job of a sinking ship.
But I think, and this is where I wanted to say it when we were talking about Burnley, I think what happens next year for Everton, and the reason they survive, is they sack Lampard after they're in a relegation dogfight, and they get Sean Dyche in, and Sean Dyche keeps them up. And he's the only one that maybe can turn that club around because he'll bring back some of that old school Merseyside Everton sort of way that David Moyes had about him.
Were they safe?
Then they might be okay.
They were safe on the last day, weren't they?
They were, but that's only because of the double game week stuff they had.
Man, imagine if Palace didn't throw that 2-goal lead away.
Exactly. And that's Lampard's going to sit there and think, oh, I'm a great coach. I turned around. No, Palace just imploded, mate. And a lot of the results, Palace imploded. And you look at Lampard's history as a coach, and I've said it many times before, only reason that he got the Chelsea job is because he had about 20 million loans in the Championship. Didn't get him up anyway. And then went to the Chelsea job, imploded, had one decent day out against Liverpool and still got beat, and beat his chest about getting beat by Liverpool, which is nothing to beat your chest about because you lost. And then he's ended up at an Everton job with a squad that should never be in the situation that they were in. Rafa had injuries, understand that. But he had a very fit squad apart from Calvert-Lewin and still nearly got him down. So for me, I think if you're Everton, I know they won't do it because it's Frank Lampard. But if I'm sitting there looking at that, I'm going, we're sacking him for a better coach and Sean Dyche is available. But what will happen is they'll get in a relegation fight and it'll be up to Sean Dyche to save him. If they will, if he won't, I don't know. But that's my prediction next year. My strong prediction, Lampard will get the sack, Everton will face relegation, and Sean Dyche will be the manager that comes in.
My thing with them, as I've already said, is they can't strengthen unless they sell. That's the key.
And I want them to stay up.
I think it'd be funny for them to go down.
I look, don't get me wrong, I'll laugh. But from a point of view of me being a Liverpool fan and what games I like to watch, I pencil the Merseyside derby in every time.
Yeah.
So I'd rather them stay up because I like to watch it. But
all right, so Dom, you were saying that we're overreacting. What's the strong points to Everton at the moment?
I just really hate Jordan Pickford. really, really hate him. I think it's just a bit of an overreaction. They got a good team. They'll keep holding their players. I don't see anyone leaving. They'll be